Okay, welcome to today's lesson. In this video, we're going to look at pressure, right? So what is pressure? Pressure is the perpendicular force per unit area acting on a surface. Pressure is the perpendicular force per unit area acting on a surface. So for instance, if I have a force, let's say this is a force, acting perpendicular to a surface, this is the surface, right? If I have a force acting perpendicular to this surface, right, that force all over the area of this surface is referred to as what? The pressure. All over the area that is acted upon by this force is known as what? The pressure. So pressure is the perpendicular force per unit area acting on a surface. The formula for pressure is equal to force all over area. Like I said, it is the perpendicular force acting per unit area of a surface, right? It's the perpendicular force per unit area acting on a surface. So pressure is equal to force all over area. Force is measured in Newton, area is measured in meters squared, right? So therefore, the SI unit of pressure is Newton per meter squared, right? Which can also be written as Newton per square meter. So you can write it like this or write it like this, or Pascal, right? So this is another unit for pressure, Pascal. 1 Pascal is equal to Newton per square meter. It is the same thing as the Newton per square meter, right? So one very important thing that should be noted here is that the larger the surface area, the smaller the pressure. Very important. The larger the surface area, the smaller the pressure. What that means is that when the area increases, as the area increases, the pressure what decreases. So how I like to look at it is that pressure is directly proportional to the force, and pressure is inversely proportional to what? Area. So what that means is that as area increases, pressure decreases because they're inversely proportional, right? Also, as the force increases, pressure increases. As the area increases, pressure decreases. As the area decreases, pressure increases. So note this relationship. Pressure is inversely proportional to the area. So that means that as one of the parameter increases, the other variable will decrease. As one of the variable decreases, the other variable will increase, right? So if area increases, pressure will decrease. Or if area decreases, pressure what will increase. So this is a very important fact. The larger the surface area, the smaller the pressure, right? Then the smaller the surface area, the larger the pressure exerted. So it is exactly what I said here, that the larger the area, the smaller the pressure. Then the smaller the area, the larger the pressure, right? The pressure that is exerted. So this is very important. Okay, so like I said, pressure is equal to force all over area, right? Pressure is equal to force all over area. So like I said before, the larger the surface area, the smaller the pressure. And the smaller the surface area, the larger the pressure, right? So if we look at this shoe, for instance, this shoe is having a very small area here, right? So that means the area of this sole, of this pointed part, is very small, that is touching the ground is very small. And so it's going to exert more pressure on the ground, right? And this is a larger surface area. So the pressure here is going to be less, right? Then this is a flat sole. So the pressure here will also is going to be lesser, right? So the reason why uh, The reason why a pointed shoe like this will exert more pressure than a flat sole shoe is because of the surface area, right? Because the surface area is what smaller, and so it will exert more pressure. The surface area is big, and so the pressure will be less. Also, if you look at this cone and this cylinder, the cone has a very small area. It has a very small surface area, and so because of the small surface area, the pressure is going to be more, right? And then this one is having a larger surface area. So because of the larger surface area, the pressure is going to be what? It's going to be less. So the smaller the area, the larger the pressure. The bigger the area, the smaller the pressure, right? So this is very important. So pressure, like I said, is the perpendicular force per unit area acting on the surface, and the formula is pressure is equal to force all over area. The unit for pressure is Newton per square meter or Pascal. And like I said, the larger the surface area, the smaller the pressure, and the smaller the surface area, the larger the pressure exerted. So let's look at this question here. A force of 200 Newton is applied to a surface with an area of 2 meters square. What is the pressure exerted on the surface? So pressure is equal to force all over area, right? We were given that the force is equal to 200 Newton, and then we are given the area to be what? 2 meters square, right? So pressure is equal to force all over area, so that will be equal to 200, which is my force, over the area, which is 2. So 200 divided by 2 will give me what? 100. And what is the unit for pressure? Newton per square meters, right? So this is the answer to this question. So here is another question. A pressure of 500 Pascal is exerted on a surface with an area of 4 meters square. What is the force applied? So we are given that the pressure is equal to 500 Pascal, right? And then we're given the area to be 4 meters square. And then we are asked to look for the force. A pressure of 500 Pascal is exerted on a surface with an area of 4 meters square. What is the force applied? So we are looking for the force. We are given the pressure and area. So from formula, we know that pressure is equal to force over area, right? So my pressure can also be written as pressure over 1. Pressure divided by 1 is still the same thing as pressure. So I can cross multiply, right? So if I cross multiply, so F times 1 will give me F. P times A will give me what? PA, right? So we are looking for the force, right? So that means my force is equal to pressure times what? Area. So this will be equal to 500 times what? 4. 500 times 4. So 500 times 4 will give us what? 500 times 4 is going to give us 2000, right? So the force, my force is equal to 2000 Newton. This is the answer to this question. So in summary, we've looked at what pressure is. Like I said, pressure is the perpendicular force per unit area acting on a surface. The formula is pressure is equal to force all over area, and the SI unit of pressure is Newton per square meter, also known as the Pascal. Then, like I said, that the larger the surface area, the smaller the pressure, and the smaller the area, the larger the pressure, because pressure is inversely proportional to what? Area. So if the area decreases, pressure will increase. If the area increases, pressure will what? Will decrease. So with this, we come to the end of today's lesson. See you in the next lesson.